So we continue with the text. First, I just say a little bit more about karma, because I was saying yesterday how by simply being present in this open state, all karma is resolved. This morning in the kitchen, I saw that there was a bowl of fruit, and I picked up one apple, and it was not my apple, so I put it back, and then I saw my apple. So I took my apple, and then my apple is now in my room. That apple became my apple by my taking. My room here is my room because it was allocated to me. So things can be my because I take it or it's given to me. If it's given to me, it's not really mine because it's dependent on the giving, if we keep the history. If it's on the taking, it's through that act that I am putting my idea into the apple. It was an apple in a bowl, there were many apples in the bowl, but for whatever reason, the coloring or the shape, my hand goes around that apple and I put it in my pocket. That which was not me or mine has become me or mine. And therefore I need to eat the apple or give it to someone or throw it away. Now I'm burdened by the apple. Before I was apple-less, there's a kind of freedom. It is exactly the same thing with the thoughts. In our mind, many thoughts and sensations arise. We say, in our minds, in my mind. When the thought arises, then it must be mine because it's in my room. Which room? My mental room. It's like if the drug squad come to your door and they beat it down and they come in and they find some drugs. You say, I don't know why this is here. They say, it's in your house, it's your drugs, come with us. This is the English system anyway. You're not innocent if it's in your possession. But I don't know how it got there. This is what happens in the meditation. You get lost in a thought. You don't know who made you lost. Somehow you're lost. But it's your responsibility. This is when the karma begins. So the thought which is just there, if it's left just there, the glue that binds it into I, me, and mine is not present. The thought comes and goes. Even if it's a terrible thought, there is no harm. Even if it's a beautiful thought, there is no gain. He was saying that many times, wasn't he? That the mind itself, the open nature of the mind, is not improved by good thoughts and not damaged by bad thoughts. So in the first stage of karma, in this four-stage process we looked at, the first stage is I am real and the object is real. We have a thought about something in relation to ourselves. We want to make something not mine. So I'm tired of my partner. I'm going to kill her and chop her up and put acid in the bath and dissolve her and throw her out in the countryside. Not a bad thing to do. Yeah, all planned. I confess. That requires a lot of thinking and planning and doing because I don't want this near me. Other times we take something. The mind is the glue that binds us into this object has something to do with me. And therefore, I have to act by pulling in or pushing away. So it is the identification which is the real issue. In Tibetan, this is called sampa, and sampa means to think. but particularly an intentional thought. And it's that intention which is about relationship, which binds me into the connection. So you sit in the meditation, and maybe a thought comes, I don't know, from some old horror movie. You suddenly remember somebody being cut to pieces with razors. All kind of things happen in meditation. Does that mean you want to kill someone? It's just a thought. Whose thought? It's just there. It's just there. Why is it there? Due to causes and conditions. But if you claim it, then it will be yours. You will become involved. This is the meaning of attachment in Buddhism. The phenomena arising are neutral. They are there, but they are there without any bias, and our mind can be without bias or tendency, allowing it to be there. But as soon as we go towards it wanting more, or away from it wanting less, this creates a binding, because we've made the relationship which is making that object real and important and connected with me. And this is what drives karma. Which is why sitting in the meditation and allowing what is there to be there, even when we get a bit twitchy, we don't want this there. We want more of that there. It's that twitchiness or that mobilization of energy, that is the dangerous thing. And of course, this is why in some of the systems there are a lot of preliminary practices, including pranayama of various kinds, controlling the breath. It's all to relax the system. When we are relaxed, let it be. When we're a bit agitated, we're not so sure. It is our own agitation which is a kind of latent arousal. If you put some milk in a pan and you put it on the gas on a very low heat, we'll take it up quite hot, but not enough to really cook it. Then you just turn the gas up, and within a couple of seconds the milk boils over, because it was just below that point. This is the state of arousal that many people are in all the time now, through traumas and so on. The sympathetic nervous system, the system in the autonomous nervous system which is preparing us to react to situations, is aroused. Many people are full of adrenaline. They are ready for action. You can see it in the way their bodies are locked and how they walk down the street and they're checking things out. And they're very wary. This is a terrible state to be in, because it just takes one small thing. Are you looking at me? Because now, like the milk, I'm ready to boil over. I myself am keeping myself warm. One little gesture from you and I'm very hot. So this is what is dangerous. So again and again, the practice is to relax and release. Relax and release. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You see that again with small children. They have something and they drop it. They start crying. And we say, oh, sweetie, it doesn't matter. I get you another. No, but I did what? Oh, because it's very important. Why is it important? For the parent, they see these things don't matter. But for the child, excuse me, being trapped in that, it's very important. And this is our life. Due to our own personalities, our tendencies, particular forms in the world which don't matter at all to other people, for us are vibrating with meaning and intensity. If that doesn't happen for us, it will be tragic. So this is what we're trying to come to in the practice, is to be so calm that the hook of the world, the hooks which are embedded in our projections which we have left there, that because we have made certain factors in the world, certain people, certain activities, certain foods, clothes, whatever, we have made these very special and important and significant. And so, like a boomerang, that meaning that we put in the object is coming back to us. That's what karma means. If we are calm, if the surface is clear, like polished steel, there's nothing for it to hook onto. So when it's talking about this natural purity or intrinsic purity, kadak, it means that the surface is so calm. It says naked, fresh, uncovered, very smooth. It's not reacting. So whatever arises, like the reflection in the mirror, it doesn't set up any traction, any hooking and mobilization. This is how that part of karma works. Okay. Also, in this kind of text, they're not talking very much about compassion, but it's implicit, because the general principle is that with these three kayas, the Dharma kaya, the mind itself, this is for us. We recognize the nature of our own mind. But then the two form kayas, the Sambhoga kaya and the Nirmana kaya, these are for other people. In the non-dual field, everything we do is for others. Our faces face out. Our faces are given to other people. If you want to see your face, you have to look in a mirror. You see your face as a reflection. Other people see your face, but you will never see your own face. You are for the other. You give yourself to the other person. This is an amazing thing. Our embodiment shows this. How are we going to be with the other? In this non-dual field, everything we do is in this field of interconnectivity. So this is compassion itself. Not that we have to think, how will I help this person? What is wrong with them? How are they suffering? But because we are in it together, there is a non-conceptual immediacy in our responsiveness. If you were doing massage, a kind of shiatsu in a yin style, you wouldn't be coming with an intention, you wouldn't be looking for the pressure points. You would just be allowing the body to reveal itself and respond into that. You don't have to have any plan, you don't even really need to have any knowledge of the anatomy of the person, but you trust that this exquisite energetic form shows, and by receiving it, you find yourself in a response. It doesn't have to be mediated through knowledge or concepts or even any kind of training. In fact, we often have to detrain from our training in order to be in relationship. So it's also the chance to think differently about compassion, because compassion often has a top-down thing. Even in this refuge and bodhicitta that we say at the beginning, may I become enlightened in order to help all sentient beings. So I'm going to go up, and then I look down from the top of the mountain, and I throw some crumbs from my table. Maybe not. Okay, so now we are on page 76 in the English version. And so here he's talked about the ground in terms of the two purities, the path in terms of the Sambhogakaya formation of the five certainties, and now the Nirmanakaya form of the five uncertainties. This is a little bit of a kind of scholarly movement, because he's linking up lots of different ideas. He's saying, don't think that there are 10,000 different things you have to know in the Dharma. Everything comes into one point. So, the Nirmanakaya is linked to the root of nirmita, which means sparks from a fire. If you're out on a summer evening and you have a big fire blazing and you have some pine wood on it, little sparks are shooting off all the time. So this is what out of this radiance, little gestures come. This is what our kindness is, isn't it? You smile at someone, you help them find a seat, or you make them a cup of tea. These are little sparks. It just, whoop, and it's gone. Whoop, and it's gone. We don't need to build anything on that. So this is really the Nimanakaya. It's not a job. So the result of the being in the Sambhogakaya is the outflowing of this manifesting, and it has 5 non-certainties. With the actualization of the meaning of the unborn natural mode and the powerful flow of the ceaseless radiant mode, the various forms of energy are self-arising and self-liberating. In another term in Dzogchen, this is called the aspect of Hlundrup, that without conscious intention, just through the connectivity of non-duality, gestures arise as they are required. So it's saying here that the energy is self-arising and self-liberating. It's not grounded in a conscious intention. It's not even going for a purpose. You just do it because you do it. Not even that it needs to be done because someone else might not see that it needs to be done, but you do it because you do it. And then it's over. So it never becomes something very important. And so there is stillness, movement into stillness. There is silence, movement into sound, and then silence again. And it's very important that it settles, that there's no echo, there's no vibration going on. What did you do today? I was playing. What were you playing at? I was playing. But what did you do all day long? I was playing. Children know that big people are very stupid because big people always want to have a lot of details and explanation, and the child is just playing. What are you doing with the shovel? Get a life, eh? Little one, look. So this is the same in this level. We just do it. And then it's gone. And there's no need for a narrative. There's no need for an explanation. Because it's self-dissolving. Leaving no trace. We're not like generals who want to have a statue put up on a big plinth in the center of the town. When we go, it's gone. Something else will come. By means of this, the resultant manifest mode acts for the benefit of sentient beings via the 5 non-certainties. Thus, the non-certainty of place is the ability to go to whatever place in the 6 realms it's necessary to arrive at for the sake of those who are ready. This means, and clearly what it says, that we respond in different ways to different people. When we are here with other people, we have different conversations with different people. What is set up between us is the possibility of speaking or not speaking. It's not that we intend to do that or we have some game plan or master plan. We just find ourselves doing things differently if we are actually present. If we are in our own neurotic state or in our monologue situation, then you can blather the same story to everyone. But that's not relational. Relation begins first with the perception of the other, which is the Sambhogakaya. You're in the field, the shared field of experience, and then you see in someone's face whether they want to be quiet or they're happy to be connected. Then you have a connection, and it has its own time. And then it's gone. And then something else happens. So this is what it means, is that you don't know where it's going to occur. And it can occur under any circumstance, depending on the possibility. And the possibility is always situational. In small country towns, you can greet people in the street. In London, you don't greet people in the street. It would be very strange in the big city to say good morning to someone. Who the fuck are you? In the country, if you don't say good morning, people say, oh, what's the matter with you? This is the meaning of the relational field. it's not up to the individual. We take our place. Doors open or close. So in that sense, although the Nirmanakaya or compassion is dynamic and showing, it's not phallic, it's not priapic. That is to say, it doesn't have a need to do something. It is an availability which can respond. And that's a very big difference, because there are all sorts of NGOs, these non-governmental organizations, which are very phallic. They're running all over the world trying to get money to do this, to intervene, this, that, and the other, not necessarily very helpfully. Something must be done. Why? Because there is suffering. Why is there suffering? Is what you're going to do going to remove the suffering? Why are you doing it? Because I like doing it. Okay, that at least is honest. You want to be in Médecins Sans Frontières because you like excitement. So you want to be in the jungle and you hear the guns going off and you adrenaline's going, great, that's nice for you. Whether that's compassion or not is another matter. Understanding our own motivation is very, very important, because self-sealing, self-referential motivation is a de facto violence towards the other. It will always be impositional because it starts with me. What this is talking about is starting with the field, and the field permits movement or not. It's not all up to me. In this way, wisdom and compassion are linked together.
Jane? Just wonder, just taking back to movement, there's a place in interaction for both giving impulse and responding to impulse. Yeah. And you seem to be talking mostly about the responding side.
Yeah.
But giving impulses doesn't have to be, taking over or...
But if you give something to someone they don't want,
sure,
that would be different. That's why the field comes first. We have to receive the field before we can give to the field, otherwise we don't know what to give.
Yeah.
So if I invite you for dinner and I cook you a steak and you're a vegan, my generosity is not very useful. Yeah, it's just like that. We have to work out what is the other person's palate, what can they eat. If you don't like chili, why would I put chili in the food for you?
But isn't it somewhere in the middle that, there's also, they're both needed in there though, it's no need to give an impulse in ignorance, clearly, but at the same time, you could go so far that you never tried to do anything.
Yeah, but this is not talking about being far back. This is talking about deep connection with the field, that we start as part of the field. We're not coming from outside and making an intervention. We're not cutting into the world. We are already in the world with other people. And our permission is given by what's there. And so it's not that it's the ego is overactive. So form, we know a lot about form. We don't know very much about emptiness. Emptiness is wisdom. For most of us, we need to practice a lot on the empty side because we're so skilled at running around and doing things. So being more passive receptive is not going to make us completely helpless, but rather it opens up what is the basis for the movement of the action. Rather than it coming out of my need, my desire, my habit formation, it's like, as a participant in the field, what is the right time? You see this a lot in group therapy, for example. The anxious person is inside themselves trying to find the moment they can say what they need to say. And inevitably they say it at the wrong time. Because they're not in the group. And the funny thing is, if you relax and you're just part of it, you find suddenly words are coming out of your mouth. That is really what this means. That you trust that belonging or non-duality is the basis for the connective life flow, not the inner intention.
But in the example you gave about NGOs working, say, doctors or whatever, would was a doctor and somebody knocked on my door in Brecon and I could respond, that would be okay.
Yeah.
It's not any good if I go to Africa and try and help the people who are desperate for doctors. Is that really what you're saying?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what is the structure of these kind of organizations and who do they attract? And they tend to attract fairly buzzy people in my experience. The question is, what is the nature of the problem? The problems are usually political, and they're not going to be solved by these levels of intervention. Moreover, it's the question of what is the basis for saying something to someone. Do you do it on the basis of truth? So if somebody saw some older person hurtling along the road and went up to them and say, hey, you need to get a hip operation, is that kind or not kind? The person might say, fuck off. Fuck off and die. Who the fuck are you to tell me what I should do with my life? Huh? Big smart arsehole. Oh, thank you so much. I never realized that there was anything wrong with my hip. This is the blindness of knowledge, that we're going to help other people out as if they're deaf, dumb and blind. They're mostly not. People make different kind of decisions. The doctor says to the patient, oh, you need to lose some weight. Oh, what a surprise, doctor. Okay. The non-certainty of form is the ability to manifest in whatever form is appropriate to educate beings. Now, clearly from this, you could intervene on someone because it might be necessary, but on what basis would you know that it's necessary? This is where it's very tricky. Because if you do it on your authority, if you think, I am a well-trained professional and it is my duty to do these things, then it's a monologue. It's flowing out of your self-positioning. What he's saying is that we take on the forms which are necessary to the situation, which means if we are in a habitual, familiar form, we're probably off balance. Other people invite us to be multiple. The fact that we relate to lots of people of different ages, different backgrounds, genders, education and so on is fantastic, because it's through that that we learn different moves. Just as last night, different kind of music was coming on. Some kind of music has half the people dancing, some kind of music has almost everybody dancing, because people find their way into different kind of music. And the bodies are moving differently according to the music. This is all he's saying, really, is that trust the context and allow yourself to manifest as what is required. Of course, on an ordinary level, that means we have to overcome shame, guilt, fear, core negative beliefs, core positive beliefs, family traditions, and so on. Being for the other is a great liberation for the self. The non-certainty of retinue is the ability to be available for whoever needs help, be they high or low, good or bad.
Sorry, what is retinue? What is retinue?
Retinue means the people around the king. So it's talking about when you see it in a mandala, you always have the central, excuse me, the central figure, and then they have what's called their circle or their retinue.
Oh.
So our retinue, if we're in this enlightened mode, is whoever needs help. And it could be any kind of person, not necessarily very nice people, but any kind of person. The non-certainty of Dharma is the ability to teach the different vehicles according to the capacity of different individuals. This means that the Dharma doesn't stay in its, as it were, pure form or in the form of the text. That in bringing the Dharma into relation with other people, we need to use many different kinds of examples to try to find something that will be proximate, that will be close to their lived experience. Because the Dharma is not a thing. It's not that you have to study these particular books or they have to be explained in this particular way. The purpose of transmitting the Dharma is freedom, it's awakening. So whatever can help in that process is useful. And we are, of course, at quite a fortunate time, because in our world we have many possibilities of understanding Dharma. And I hope that the next wave will be the recognition that Western culture is not so very different from Dharma in many ways. For example, this Russian theorist Mikhail Bakhtin developed what he called the notion of novelness, that novels, stories, help to make people bigger. That when you read a novel, if it's a good novel, the characters start to move around inside you. So you start off as one person with your own fixations, and by relating to art, you become populated with echoes of other people's voices. This makes you big, and this then opens up your capacity to relate to other people. So literature itself allows that to happen. And he developed this particularly in thinking about the novels of Dostoevsky. And Dostoevsky, as we know, is primarily concerned with tragic self-preoccupation. He's very much concerned with how we get caught in something, how an idea takes us over, and we can't free ourselves. So you think, I need the money, I'm going to take it from that old woman, I'm going to kill her. And the idea comes and it's horrifying and the person's frightened, but each time the idea comes, when we read this, we start to recognize ourselves. I also get overtaken by these things. So the fact that we see a character enacting it takes away some of the shame of being the only person in the world that is like that. We start to see, oh, this is the human situation. Many, many things are possible. And therefore, how can the richness of these many different possibilities be a basis for freedom rather than limitation? The multiplicity, if it becomes narrowly attached to, is a restriction, but the multiplicity of possibilities in our minds, when it's relational, lets us see, oh, different things can be done. How will we talk? So, when Raskolnikov is with the police inspector and being interrogated, very interesting. How do you interrogate someone? How do you make someone show their ill-at-easeness? By doing very little. Marvelous. Literature and art are incredibly precious so that we see, oh, in order to help beings, I have to allow them to be the way they are. And in order to do that, I have to allow myself to be the way I am. So if I know my tendencies and I'm trying to be open to you, it would be like at night time going into your lounge or dining room without the light on and trying to get to the sink without banging into the table. You have to have the embodied memory of where things are located. So similarly, you have to know your own neurosis so that you don't activate your neurosis in relation to someone else. So recognizing it, not blaming yourself, not being over-identified with it or in denial of it, allows you to move around the furniture and give as much space as possible to the other person. So Western thought and Dharma are not two different realms. It would be bizarre if they were, because Dharma is presented as being the basis of all experience, and therefore it can be inclusive of many kinds of understanding. Then fifthly, the non-certainty of time is the ability to appear in whatever time disciples are ready, be it past, present or future. That can mean being able to move across time because of the non-differentiation of time, but it also could mean in a very ordinary way that you can talk about the past, you can talk about the future, you can talk about the present. If you want to help someone understand their limitations, sometimes talking about childhood trauma is very important. If you want to help them, sometimes talking about future plans and how they could be less self-defeating in their activity in the world could be helpful. Sometimes you could be talking to them directly about what's transacting between you in the present moment. So it's not that there is any fixed way, but we have to see where is the key to the lock which won't open. Where is the person held? Some people are held in being unable to think about the future. They don't know what to do with their lives. So they're just echoing around like a leaf in the wind. Other people feel that their life is overdetermined by what happened in their childhood. Because somebody did this to me, therefore I can't do this, or I must do this. So being able to look into these different aspects of someone's life and make the connection there can be the way of helping. And all of that means is there is no map. You can learn different techniques and so on, but the technique is never the answer in itself. It has to be the relationship, which is the allowing of the revealing of the other's lived situation as it's revealed to you. It may be revealed in a different way to someone else. But if you are connected with them, in this shaping which is revealed to me, this is the line of access. And we follow the line of access. Yeah?
What he highlights here a couple of times is that if the other is ready, and this is what I find so complicated, when do I know that he's ready? Even if I try certain, let's say, techniques, or if I don't try not to do anything, and I constantly get the situation, I'm thinking of a special person, and I constantly get the situation, no.
Yeah. Well, we know that the two main forces of trauma in anyone's life, and for cattle and dogs and so on, is abandonment, invasion. The supportive environment is too far away or too close. So pitching it just right is exactly the middle way. So if somebody says no, okay, no. We may think, listen, sweetie, last chance saloon, this is getting thin. Your life is getting to the edge. If you don't change now, but that is our thought. And maybe they will kill themselves. Maybe they will die. Maybe again they'll enter into a relationship with an arsehole and have a lot of beatings and trouble and so on. But if the bubble around them is impenetrable, then if you bring out your scalpel and stab into it, you are taken into violence. And your gift will not be well received. So we can, in a sense, we're always helping people to help themselves. And if we become too much the expert, the locus or the center of control is positioned outside the other person. And what we've done is we've helped them, but impoverished them or weakened them at the same time, because they become then dependent on some big expert doing it for them. Whereas in Dharma, the main thing is that each of us lives in our own skin, stands on our own feet, and finds the way forward in the complexity of our own lives. And this is what is meaning by the 5 uncertainties. We can meet people and they tell us something about their life, but we're not there. We're not looking out of their eyes, listening with their ears. We might think, I wouldn't put up with that. I couldn't put up with it. Maybe they can. Maybe they are mad to do it, or maybe they have more patience and toleration than us.
Yeah, but that doesn't, where's transference at that point? I mean, if this is exactly what they're transferring on me, that they're making me to either the one who's going to abandon or to stab into something, isn't that the central point, that I find some manner of helping them to see that, not making them to see
Yeah.
but
So
helping them
the
to
best
see
way-
exactly this,
yeah.
that it is something relational that is happening right now in
Yeah.
this moment. That
But the difficulty in a lot of therapy in that case is that the scenario is too dyadic, especially in face-to-face therapy. If you have someone lying on a couch and you're not looking at them face-to-face, the words that are given by the therapist or analyst are, as it were, more disembodied. They're more in the place of the third. For example, in Dharma we say, in samsara, all beings have the 5 poisons. That means you have anger. You are jealous. I'm not jealous. But if we say, but all beings have the 5 poisons. They are anger, stupidity. You calling me stupid? No. All beings have stupidity. Huh? So when it's presented in the third position, in this neutral position, I'm just looking at the map. On the map it says this. Does the hat fit? Mm. But you have to know, I do that. But if I say you do that, you get the resistance. And this is part of the problem. That in the transference, there is nowhere to hide if it's in the face-to-face. And the idea of gathering the transference in the old Freudian thing was always with the couch. It wasn't in the face-to-face. So the analytic technique has gone into very strange labyrinths around this, I think. Because the space to think depends on space, on some degree of clarity. And if I feel blamed, attacked, if I feel humiliated, if I feel embarrassed, how will I be able to think? You are the big powerful person who is telling me the truth about me. I feel shamed, small, inadequate. A lot of resistance comes in that way. So presenting it in a neutral way can be very useful. For example, models of therapy like transactional analysis, where you get a little diagram of parent states, adult states, child states, and you can sit with the person and look, oh, these are these patterns, or why don't you read this book? It sets out very common patterns of behavior. Wow, do you think any of that applies to you? Yes. So confession is very good. Ownership, I do that. Oh, now we can talk about it. You do that. No, I don't. So that's part of the issue, that is to, in a Dharma world, people take it for as granted that they are wandering in samsara and confused. And therefore, I want help with these problems. Because, of course I have these problems. It's part of the structure of existence. I'm here because I have these problems. So if I imagine I don't have these problems, I'm in a double stupidity. Not only am I stupid, but I'm being stupid about being stupid. Okay? Now we have to run on. Moreover, the manifest mode has 2 forms, the supreme manifest mode and the multifarious manifest mode. Supreme manifest mode has 2 aspects, the manifest mode descending from compassion and the manifest mode that ascends through the vehicles. So, in brief, this is out of the pure realm, the pure Buddha realm, divine forms arise, like Buddha Shakyamuni, who was always in the Tushita paradise and showed an illusory form in the world. He manifested the 12 events of a Buddha's life, but he himself was not there. It was an illusion. So this is the special form. There is also the Nirmana Kaya, which comes into the world and is recognized to go into a monastery, or recognized as a tulku, and goes through all the stages of learning and growing up. And this is when you ring your bell and put your hat on, take your hat off, and so on. And they get to a stage where everybody says, oh, Big Lama, you are somebody. They've gone up through these different levels. So that's what this means. Then the page, I'm going to run over this bit so quickly because it's self-evident. Page 77, the second paragraph. The multifarious manifest mode has 2 aspects: showing the forms of being in the 6 realms and not showing such forms. So, traditionally we say in the 6 realms there are 6 Buddhas. The Buddha in the hot hell has cooling water. The Buddha in going into the cold hell has blankets. So the Buddha manifests in forms according to the particular needs of the beings in these different states. Or the Nirmanakaya can manifest as a bridge over a river if somebody needs to go over it. You could say also as antibiotics. Who is to say that these chemical formations are not the generosity of the Buddha? We think they're developed according to particular knowledge, but why did this particular knowledge arise? So new kind of crops come into the world. Perhaps even genetically modified crops are the Buddha's blessing. Do you think? Who knows? So, many different forms arise. What this is essentially meaning is, when you see someone, you don't know if they are a god or a demon. You don't know if they're a Buddha or a very stupid person. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Always imagine that people are calm, clear, and beautiful, with slight momentary aberrations. Otherwise, you imagine that they are terrible people, you get their number, and you want to avoid them. Because the key thing is, if you close down, you won't make your own life happy, and it'll cut you off from other people. So the belief in the openness or the goodness of the world is vital, which is why in the tantric practice, we imagine everything is the mandala of Padmasambhava or Tara. Everything is pure, everything is perfect, it's made out of rainbows. We feel safe, we feel able to move. Confidence and trust are absolutely vital in life. Not trusting that you will never hurt me, because if you get connected with someone, of course some pain will arise, but trusting that basically it's okay. Trusting that we can find a way through. Trusting that whatever arises is not the end of the story. It's just a difficult moment. A difficult moment wasn't there before, isn't here now, and won't be here later. So it's unpleasant, but it's not defining anything in a substantial way. So there is a lightness of spirit, which is what he was talking about earlier. Keep happy, keep bright, keep easy. It doesn't mean painting on a false face. It means not taking problems too seriously. The 5 perfections. We have gained this precious existence, and so we should practice properly. The perfection of place for us is to stay in a solitary hermitage. Well, we've looked at what that means if you live in the city. It means being with silence even in the midst of noise, being with stillness even in the midst of movement. What is silent and still? This is awareness. Staying in awareness, we are always in a solitary hermitage. The perfection of teacher is to meet an accomplished guru, if you're lucky. The perfection of Dharma is to practice the unsurpassed Vajrayana, the tantric tradition, or the Dzogchen tradition. The perfection of retinue is the assembly of male and female practitioners who are in harmony with the Dharma. The perfection of time is the present time in which you practice to gain enlightenment in one lifetime. This is the best possible time. We are the best possible people. This is good news. So we should do this. Then he says something with a little bit more difficult. Just take enough food to stay alive. Now you can see that this is my own practice. I am the living embodiment of this teaching. Wear just enough clothing to protect yourself from the wind, and practice without being concerned with this life. We are at the top now of page 78. What it means is that, of course, you have to follow the cultural milieu, the attitudes that are around in the world in which you live. There's no benefit in dressing inappropriately. You might say, I'm a yogi, I'm going to wear rags. But if that creates a negative perception in another person, how are you going to help them? It's then just a self-referential obsession. He's talking about a particular cultural world in which if you did live in the mountains, people would offer you food. And there was support, and it was a very dry climate, so you could be living in a cave and not get too much rheumatism. You know, that's very different from being in a cold, wet country. Cold and wet is not good for the bones. Okay, so what he's saying in this page is take the Dharma seriously. The window of opportunity that you have is very short. Your life is busy, you're easily distracted, you don't have too much time to practice, and you will die. You don't know when you will die, so the actual amount of practice you can do before you die is not great. And when you die, you will wander somewhere else. You may not be in a human body, or you may be born in some country where everybody is obsessed with killing, where not one word of Dharma is ever heard. That's also possible. This is scary shit. This is really frightening. Because the sun is shining today, it may not be shining tomorrow. We have an opportunity. If we don't use this opportunity, maybe it doesn't come again for a very long time. So, whether walking or sleeping or sitting or talking, where am I? Where do words come from? Who is this person I'm talking to? We go back into the view, through the view into the meditation. And in that way you get some benefit. Otherwise, life will go by thinking about the Dharma, rather than massaging it into your own being moment by moment, day by day. So again, he's giving some general instruction. Don't go after past ideas. Don't wait expectantly for future ideas. Free your present awareness from effort and contrivance. This means so many of the habitual structures that you have are not necessary. Our effort and our contrivance are structured around two things: the hope of gain and the fear of loss. We defend ourselves against the things we don't like, and we try to increase our ability to connect with the things that we do like. He's saying, don't do this. Now, this is against all our training and against the ego's desire, but in the meditation, allow the mind to be as it is. As it says in many of these Dzogchen texts, if you go to heaven, go to heaven. If you go to hell, go to hell. Maybe we will get some terrible disease. Maybe we get a cancer. Some cancers are incredibly painful. Then you are moving towards death in pain. What does this mean? But I've been doing Dharma, this shouldn't be happening. Whoa, not at all. This is your luck. Someone else is not having that. They're luckier than me. They're only luckier than you if you think that their life is better than yours. As my mother used to say, look at what's on your plate and eat it, and stop looking at your brother's plate. So, if you have sickness, if you have chronic back pain, if you're lonely, if you're prone to depression and anxiety, whatever it is, this is what's on your plate. How are you going to eat it? If you keep giving negative judgments about it or keep trying to change it, not necessarily very helpful from the Dzogchen point of view. Stay with the mind as it is, which means stay with the openness of the mind and stay with the content of the mind as it reveals itself. The central idea is whatever comes, comes. Whatever goes, goes. Be with what is there. This itself is liberation. This is the liberation of all the Buddhas. So this is very challenging. Without striving, remain tranquil. Without grasping, stay loose. Without sinking, stay sparkling and alert. Now, you might say, oh, he's telling me that I have to not do this, so I'm being artificial. All of the things that he's describing are movements of the mind. We move up into excitement with lots of thoughts. We move down into depression and sinking and fogginess. This is the movement of the mind. The mind itself is not in that movement. So when he's saying, don't do this, it's the do this that's already there. We are doing it. If you say, don't do it, it means relax, stay open, stay fresh. You only do it when you get caught by the thought, caught by the habit, caught by the impulse. Just relaxing, relaxing the out-breath. Before you sit to meditate, you can have a hot bath or a shower. You can put on some music and dance. You feel more relaxed. You can do some yoga practice. There are many, many things you can do. Now you feel a bit relaxed, you sit there. All kinds of things are coming. You just stay with that. You can't make yourself relaxed. Relaxation is the nature of the mind. This is the whole thing. You say, oh, now you relax. So, you see this with soldiers. And they're out on the parade ground. Attention! Stand at ease! They put the foot out. Stand at ease. Because they were holding themselves together. If you stop holding yourself together, you are at ease. Being at ease is not effortful. Standing to attention is effortful. Being busy is effortful. But we are so used to making the effort of busyness that it is second nature to us. We do it automatically without thinking. And we're not so used to being relaxed. So then we think, shit, how do I relax? Some new special thing that you have to do. This way you go crazy. Relaxation is what is there prior to, during, and after all activity. The mirror is relaxed and open. You put the cloth over the mirror, nothing's happening, it's okay. Open it up, all sorts of images are coming, it's okay. Put the cloth on again, it's okay. The mirror is not agitated by the presence or the absence of activity, of movement. So this is very important for us to trust that our own nature is, as the text says, primordial purity, untarnished, open, clear, relaxed, peaceful. This is how it is. It is our own turbulence, our own cogitation, mental activity, which charges us up and makes us very anxious and tight.
James? But when there is constriction inside, then often is needed a little impulse, a little activity to let this go. So this means when I do the usual practice, and I perceive this constriction or this tension or whatever, I need a little activity to let go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that kind of antidote is what we need to apply. The danger with that is we think, the end of the day, I can only relax with a whiskey. So the whiskey helps me relax. So the basis of my relaxation is the whiskey. So I always need the whiskey. I feel really good after yoga. Unless I do yoga, I don't feel relaxed. Yoga is making me relax. So then the notion is relaxation is some kind of artificial state. So I wind myself up and then I wind myself down. Both are things that I'm doing. And of course on an ordinary level that's true. So when we're relaxed, really open to that and be fully present in it and allow it to deepen and enlarge, and then we experience that movement can occur inside the relaxation, and then we have more confidence that the relaxation is actually the quality of the natural condition rather than just another construct. But on a general level, of course, we do things to relax. So all of this till the end of the text is pretty self-evident on the basis of what we've done. Because I want to go on to the section on advice on practice for great meditators. The term great meditator is full of irony. It's not quite serious. We are all great meditators. So he's saying, you people who meditate a lot and who understand something, now listen to what I have to say. We've all been revolving in samsara for a long time. Through this we've experienced many different kinds of conditions. This has been due to ignorance. This understanding is inseparable from the Dzogchen view, because if you get it, it's clear. If you don't get it, you're swept away in the waves. This is the fact. It's not that, oh, because it's pure from the very beginning, it doesn't matter whether I engage with it or not. If you don't engage with it, if you don't open to your own nature, you won't be anywhere except blown hither and thither. In order to realize the nature of awareness, you must practice the Dharma. It says that there are inconceivable number of teachings. They come from many different references, many different texts you can read. But we who are called great meditators have no need of many different dharmas. What we need is the definite awakening to our own instant awareness, which is the essence of all dharmas. The mind is chief. The Buddha says this in the Theravadan text, the Mahayana text, Tantric text, every kind of text. The Buddha says the main thing is the mind. The body is an aspect of the mind, speech is an aspect of the mind. Because the body and the speech are the energy of the mind. Thoughts and feelings are the energy of the mind. Therefore, if we don't know what our mind is, then we have a problem. If you have this definite awakening, then the meaning of all dharmas is encompassed within it. For the roar of the Buddha arises from the actualization of your own awareness. That is to say, this awareness is always there, but it's as if it is a seed which has not been planted in the ground. It's a potential. It is actually the functional basis of all our experience. But in terms of the path, in terms of where we stand in relation to it, it's something which has to be actualized. It has to be awakened. It has to be allowed to manifest clearly. It is always manifesting clearly, but not for us. So it's fully there and doesn't need to be changed or transformed. It's not to be improved in any way, and yet we're not in touch with it. This is something that can't be understood intellectually. Only when you get some direct experience yourself, then, oh, it's obvious. It's like that. When you're on the outside, it doesn't make any sense. I remember when I was, I think, about 11 in my primary school, a little group of us used to meet together in the playground in a corner and talk about sex. Because we knew that when you went to big secondary school, sex is very important. So we would go at home and read the little dictionaries and encyclopedias that our parents had and copy out things and bring in definitions about what is a penis and so on. It was very interesting. But before puberty, sex is, you can't really understand it. Then you get a bit bigger and you start to have some feelings and sensations and so on. You start to think, wow, this is sex. But before, it's just some abstraction. It's the same with the meditation. You can, you can read all these texts, but it's just some vague idea. If you don't get right in it, if it doesn't come to live inside you, it's not really going to mean very much. So then now he says very precisely, this is how to go about getting that definite actualization. Start by developing the bodhicitta of abiding in the nature of the view of Samantabhadra in order to benefit all sentient beings, as many as would equal the extent of the sky. Means, if you want to really benefit all beings, you have to settle your mind in its own natural condition, which is exactly the mind or the heart of the Buddha Samantabhadra, the primordial Buddha, who is always awake, has always been free and fresh. This is available to us, and we do this by doing the Guru Yoga of the 3 R's, or relaxing into the out-breath and just being there. And when the thoughts and feelings arise, let them be there like clouds passing through the sky. So this is the basis of the practice. Meditate clearly on the Guru Yoga, praying with deep inward devotion. So if you do the 3 R, you can also do the 7-line prayer to Padmasambhava, pray to the 21 Taras, whatever additional practices you have to increase both the sense of the value of the R, that it is truly the presence of all the Buddhas, but also devotion helps to collect all our energy. If you pray with one pointed attention, all the prana in the body will collect in the central channel. You don't have to do tumo and all the various kind of yogic exercises. By devotion itself, everything will become completely clear. This is the central Nyingmapa view.
So it's not saying that we need to start those practices by thinking of all sentient beings. It's by opening ourselves that will come.
Yeah, because when you're open, all beings are there. All beings are part of the clarity of the field. If I start in myself, then I'm going out to other beings. May I help all sentient beings. But I and sentient beings arise within the field of experience, because as we are sitting here, we're aware of our own body and we're aware of the body of other people. So we are in co-emergence in this very moment. You are revealed to me as I am revealed to me. You are my experience and I am my experience. How you are conditions how I am conditions my experience of you. So from that point of view, if you see the ground, the open empty ground, out of which the co-emergent non-dual field of experience arises, then necessarily your movement inside that is going to be compassionate, because it's a shared field. In a ballet company, if the corps de ballet is composed of prima donnas, there's a lot of problems. If you're in the corps de ballet, you're in the corps de ballet. You are not the principal dancer. So the young aspiring dancer who has hope and ambition has to stay inside precisely the choreography and the role. Same in the theater. Their ambition, if it takes on too much of a form and they're trying to hook other people, is terrible, because that's not their job. It's exactly the position for us. If we are participants in the field with other people, we find a way of connecting. But if we start from our isolation, from our vision of ourselves, then we are out of kilter with the shared mood. And you know, in the Buddhist tradition, because of all sorts of cultural formations, the Buddha is made very special. What this text is saying, all beings have Buddha nature, that is what is special. My teacher was always very angry with the word special. He kept saying, nothing is special, everything has the same nature. So, being a participant means sometimes you're a bit high, you're a bit important, and sometimes you're a bit low, you're just a servant, you're just doing things. So it's that capacity to change your dimension according to the situation, which is the basis of compassion. And that comes from belonging, doesn't it? You do what is required. You don't start with yourself, you start with the field. I mean, what is very beautiful here is the way people just join in. They help to clean in the kitchen very easily, the room gets set up very easily, at the end people help to tidy things away. Nobody's got to run around shouting and saying do this, do that. People have eyes and hands. And eye-hand coordination, although we learn it very early in life, is often paralyzed by the ego. But when the eye-hand coordination is flowing smoothly, things happen very easily. And that's because, why wouldn't I do it? My teacher, Siya Lama, often said, I like everybody, but there's one kind of person I don't like, people with broken hands. People who won't do something. Because life is about participation. We find a way in. And participation pays big benefits. Because you're on the inside. If you're on the outside looking and thinking, I'm not sure what to do, look. What needs to be done is there in front of you. Organized nose in the direction of task and do it. Not so complicated. Then he says, take the 4 initiations. In this text that means visualizing the white light from the guru's forehead, red light from the throat, blue light from the heart, and then all 3 coming together, which are the initiations. Merge with the Guru merging into you and remain in the state of that merging of his mind with yours. If you read the chapter on Vajrasattva, it describes that practice very clearly. Don't recollect or follow the habits of past desires. Don't give rise to thoughts that explore the future. Now, again, we have to think what that means. If it says, don't give rise to thoughts that explore the future, a thought about the future may arise in your mind. Just let it go. You give rise to it if you enter into it and you think, yeah, tomorrow's Monday, I have to remember to, and then more and more thoughts mushroom out. If the thought is allowed, just like a cloud moving in the sky and then dissolving, it will leave no trace. So, again and again, he's saying, things become bad because of your investment, because of your energy. The central point is to do less. Less is more. Why? Because everything we need is already here. So, trying to develop the mind in a particular direction is not so helpful.
I have
Yeah.
a very practical question
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting quietly and being in touch with and just relaxing
Yeah.
opens up to things. I open up to things that I've forgotten to
Yeah.
do. So
Yeah.
might it at this point be helpful to just jot it down and then come back? Because, knowing that I might forget it again,
Yeah.
that's the point where I get upset.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I do indeed. And of course, very often in meditation, not only do you get the shopping list going, but you might get some amazing insight.
Yeah.
So what will you do with that? Whatever comes, comes. Whatever goes, goes. That is the hard path, just to let it go. Maybe I'll forget, and maybe I'll forget. What we see there is exactly the anxiety of me having to hold it together. The things in my life are very important. If I forget to do that, it will be difficult. I must do that.
Okay.
We feel that anxiety. Of course, if we have responsibilities to other people, sometimes it is truly important and it might be helpful to write it down. But what you can then do is observe what is happening when you do that. You get a momentary release, but a structural investment. So a traditional example for that is if you're thirsty, it's like drinking salt water. You get the momentary relief that now your mouth is wet, but the salt increases the thirst. So the more we give in to these habits, this is where the path of renunciation manifests in Dzogchen, that we have to let go of all these structures of our existence. And then we see actually they don't matter. One of my colleagues who headed a big psychotherapy service in a London hospital, said, I never look at my emails, I never reply to any emails. If it's important, someone will phone me. And he lived like that for 15 years before he retired. That's a very good attitude. Because it's not, otherwise you get, oh, I have to reply to this and blah and blah and blah. And a lot of the stuff is not very important. And I remember when I was starting in therapy, my tutor said, if the patient says something and you don't get it or you don't reply in the right way, if it's important, they'll say it again. I mean, that's not always true, but generally it's true. So if it's very important, it'll come back later. But it is very important because it shows how much we are established in holding things together. And this idea that it's all up to me. It's all up to me. I think I mentioned before one time that when I was in Milan, a guy who was driving me around, we passed a big cemetery, and he said, oh, this is the home of the indispensables. Because we all think that we are indispensable in our lives. If I wasn't doing what I did, what would happen? It's up to me to take care of my children, my family, my this, my that. A bus hits you, life goes on. So, in the cemetery, everybody was indispensable, was incredibly important with all their important plans. But they are the disposed of indispensables. Because once you're dead, you're not really indispensable anymore. You start to smell very bad. So, situationally, all these things are very important. On the wider context, they don't really matter at all. In the first part of the book, when he's talking about old age, sickness and death, he describes some man dying. He's the patriarch, and he's telling the people around him what they have to do with his possessions and so on. And when he's dead, they do what they like. They do what they like. He's finished, silent. Until he dies, incredibly powerful. Oh my God. Now gone, piece of rotting meat. That's how it is. So it's very useful when they're saying renunciation. It's not that we have to give up our lives, but just think, why am I making it all so very important? There are always other ways of doing it. If I don't do it, someone else will do it, and they'll do it differently. This is what we learn at work. If we have people working under us, we have to delegate tasks. And if you delegate a task to someone, they will do it their way. They will not do it your way. And so it will look different from how you would have done it. And if you don't accept that, you're going to be a bad boss because you're always going to be pissed off that it's not done the right way. So once we accept that, there are many ways to do it, there are many forms, and they're all okay. We can relax. We'll find a way. There's a flexibility in existence. Okay, we should take a break here, and then we will look at his last thoughts on meditation. Continue. So, our time will soon be at an end, and there is always more that we could do, but we've also done enough. Because the task now is to bring this understanding into our own practice. So we'll just move to the end of the text. So in many ways, he's just repeating what he has said in a slightly more condensed way. And when we read this, we have to read it that he is talking to us as if some great meditator is in the room with us and just saying very gently, this is how you are. This is the teacher as the mirror. It's showing you this is who you are. Now you can believe or not believe. If you believe and you take that as the basis for your experience, then you really can get some benefit. So, in page 81, in the second paragraph towards the end, he says, don't give rise to thoughts that explore the future. So we looked at that just before. It means don't develop these thoughts if they come. Here in the present moment, remain free of the notions of an active subject and of deeds being done. I am raising my hand and putting my glasses over my eyes. I am doing this. That's not a very complicated idea. James is doing something. You can see James is doing something, and even James himself knows what he's doing to a certain extent. So, I am the active agent. You are not putting my glasses on me, I am doing that. We have a feedback loop, what's sometimes called self-reflexivity, that in the action there is an affirmation that the doer of the action is I, me, myself. This is very deeply embedded in us. It's the basis for children learning to take responsibility, that there are things that they have to do and things that they should not do, and so on. What he's saying here is, be very careful with this. Remain free of the notions of an active subject. The glasses are going on. Who is doing this? Well, movement of the body is doing this. Why? Because now my eyes are not so strong. If I lift the book, it's more difficult to read without the glasses. So, lift book, blurred page, glasses. Oh, that's good. Who is doing that? The normal self-referential narrative says, I am doing it. I'm doing it to me, for me, as me. That is an interpretation. That says the ground or the basis of the activity is I, me, myself. I am the master. I am in charge. This is the validation of the ego, not just as an organizational site of activity, but as the origin and controller and master. There's a difference between these two. If I didn't know that I was putting this on and off my head, I would be in a pretty bad state. I might be in a very obsessional state where I'm always doing it. That would be terrible. So the recognition in terms of a description, the hand which can be said to belong to me is rising up and putting the glasses on my head, is describing the flow of an action. Where does that come from? From the general Buddhist point of view, it arises due to causes and conditions, to dependent origination, due to the development of these sensory motor skills in early childhood and their continuing activation. I can put the glasses onto my head without sticking it in my eye. At a certain point, maybe I get a shaky hand. Oh, I have to do it. That's better. Until now I haven't reached that state. Due to causes and conditions. We think, I'm healthy. Due to causes and conditions. At any moment, sicknesses, strangenesses arise. We are not the owners of the body. We are not in charge. So that's what he's meaning. It's not that agency in the, in the sense of the organization of activity is not occurring. Of course that's occurring. But what is the ground of that? The basis of that movement of energy is the mind itself. This is part of the unfolding of the field. So if you over-condense and say, it's all up to me. I am the doer of the deed. In the sense, not just that I recognize this is an action I'm involved in, but this is the expression of my autonomous, independent will to power. That secondary definition cuts you off from the ground of being. So that's what we have to be careful of. So our ordinary, our ordinary linguistic usage is very much affirming the first person singular and the singularity of all the people we meet, not in terms of their rich diversity as the richness of the field of experience, but in terms of separated individual people, each of whom is being themselves, doing themselves as some kind of self-existing phenomena. None of the schools of Buddhism, Theravada or whatever, would agree with that. The 5 skandhas are exactly a critique of that position. And for meditators it's important because if you have a period of time where the meditation doesn't go well, you can easily say, I don't know how to meditate, I can't meditate, meditation's not for me. So you come to a self-referential conclusion. There is some essence in me that's just not working with meditation. I'm going to do something else. What is making meditation difficult are obscurations, habitual patterns and so on, which get in the way of the free opening of the energy arising from space and the energy merging in space. This is a habit formation which can dissolve, which can change. But when we over-conceptualize it and make it as our base, we are separated from the field. These are my glasses. They exist in the world. Please don't steal them because I need them. I am taking these glasses as an object in the world and putting them onto my face. I am doing something to me, for me. I am making use of something which is not me, the glasses, because there is a progressive degeneration of my eyesight, and so I become less able to read without the glasses. That is a very dualistic reading of the situation. And that's what we need to be suspicious of. Who is the one who is doing the deed? The movement of the hand and the glasses is a movement of manifestation or energy, some flow of sequence of tightening and relaxing of muscles manifests in this way. It arises due to this particular situation, the causes and conditions and so on. That is not a proof that there is some James factory inside James who is pumping out Jamesness. Everything about me is not me. This body develops in relation to the food I eat. The hair falls out of the top of my head in relation to the family history of hair loss and the fact that I'm older. These are phenomena which belong in the world. I didn't make my own clothes. I didn't invent the English language. I am making use of found objects. This became a big thing in modern art in the 1960s. Remember, found objects. People would collect all sorts of bits of driftwood and bricks and stones and plunk them in a gallery. But this is what we do. We are all magpies. We are taking things and saying they're mine. It's my apple. It's my thought. It's my activity. But if we actually look, we are organizing and rearranging material which is already there in the world. That is to say, the I or the ego is a mode of energy moving in the field of energy and shifting patterns of energy. It is not an essence, it's not an entity, it's not a self-definition, and it's not the source. So this is a very, very important point for us. And we have to be attentive to language, because language is so full of statements about the individual as the agent. So, you must recognize your own awareness as the Buddha's understanding. That is to say, the open awareness is the ground of the energy which manifests as self and other. In the moment that I'm putting on my glasses, the Buddha is putting on the glasses. The Buddha nature puts on the glasses. Then the Buddha nature takes them off according to circumstances. This is the Nirmanakaya. If the Buddha put the glasses in the ear, that wouldn't be very helpful. However, if we had some small children who were very upset, we might do that. Oh! Then they start laughing. Then now they feel better. That would be the Nirmanakaya, because the function would be different. The fact that these are called glasses, and normally we put them on our eyes, doesn't mean there aren't other things we can do. We can break the glass and cut our wrists. Also possible. Many things are possible with these glasses. So, these are situationally manifesting forms of energy. Moreover, the nature of your awareness is empty and without self-substance. It's free of all conceptual elaboration. It is innate clarity and understands itself by itself. Now, this is, again, very important, because it comes to this question of looking for your mind, or witnessing yourself, or observing yourself. That would indicate that we are some kind of split subject. We've got a self that is the object and a self that is the subject. Oh, what did I do yesterday? Oh, now I remember. So the self as a memory is the object, and the self as the rememberer is trying to claw it back. Oh, yes, that's what happened. We're used to that. So here he's describing that there is no substance to be found in that, and that understanding is of itself by itself. Therefore, it's not a cognitive understanding. Again, this is the limits of language. If you're dancing and you're moving with the music, the more you're in the flow of that movement, the more there's a sense we can say the body dances itself. And yet, you're aware that the body is dancing. The revelation of the dance in the awareness isn't about an observing. Because if you start to observe yourself dancing, you'll create a triangulation. And that will collapse the dancing. So dancing is presenting itself not as an object to be known, but as the luminous clarity of the unfolding of the energy. Does that make sense? Maybe some of you experienced that last night. Just, woo. It's this, it's this. It's neither subject nor object. It's the showing of the shining, brilliant surface of awareness. So that's what it's meaning here by it's self-luminous or self-understanding. It's not a thing to be grasped, but it is both showing and somehow transparently obvious. There's nothing hidden inside it. It is what it is. So we don't need to interpret or to look for secret meanings or unconscious aspects or things which are disguised. It just is what it is. And most of our life actually is like that. It is clear and unpolluted. Unpolluted means because it is what it is, even when you feel like shit, the shit isn't a pollution. When you feel depressed, lonely and sad, from the point of view of your ego desire, you say, I don't want to feel like this. This is an obscuration. I can't relax until I'm happy. That's an interpretation. I feel terrible, and I'm here. Terribleness is niched within being here-ness. These are like Russian dolls. What is important in life is to be present as the big doll. The big doll is the Dharma Dhatu, the Dharmakaya. All the other little dolls fit into the big doll. If you become the ego, you're the little doll, and nothing will fit into you, but you endlessly have to locate yourself niched in something else. So we relax in space. The feeling tone arises. I'm really depressed. Tomorrow's Monday. I can't face going to work or whatever it would be. Or I've got to talk to my kids about something and I hate these conversations. There's a tensing. What is there? An emotional feeling of unpleasantness, a physical tensing. You can make a phenomenal description of what is occurring. These are movements and patterns. Do we need to make a conclusion on the basis of it? It is what it is. Unhappiness is my experience. In ordinary language, I am unhappy, but for a while, on the basis of these conditions, it will change. That would be a relative managing interpretation to ourselves. But in the immediacy of the awareness, it is what it is. Having no expectation, like in the meditation, we don't have a fixed object of meditation. Our meditation is to be with whatever occurs. So when you feel depressed or angry or jealous, this is it. It's there and then it's gone. So in that sense, it's unpolluted. We're only polluted by something if we think it is other than us. You're getting at me. I hate myself. I don't want my life to be like this. I hate getting old. I have aches and pains. There's so many ways you can construct an attack on yourself which shrinks you and sullies you, makes you dirty and messed up. These are just thoughts upon thoughts upon thoughts. Take it back to what is actually there. Don't cook it. Keep it raw. And it's a transient phenomenon. So this is very helpful both in the practice and in general. It's free on the intellect's focusing on objects and the reliance on signs. We've looked at this a lot. It's what I was just describing. Don't keep adding interpretations and words and concepts. Keep it simple, because it is always simple. It's always just this, and just this, and just this. And when you come to die, it will be just that. You may die in a car crash, you may die lying in a bed, you may die in your sleep. If you die sitting in a chair or in a bed when you're conscious, you're vanishing. If it's happening slowly and not suddenly, like with a heart attack, but if it's a slow fading, then you have time to watch the dissolving of yourself. That will be easier if you haven't spent so much time making yourself very strong. You can make yourself flexible, you can make yourself resilient, you can make yourself responsive in a compassionate, attuned way, but not solid. It's the solidity that gets in the problem, because now I'm losing that. That was always a memory, because each moment is self-liberating and goes. Oh, my books, and I never read them. The books were just an idea. But it's that kind of possessive glue which keeps us tethered, tied into particular fixed patterns of the world. But it's going, and it's going, and it's going. This is what self-liberation means. Because the object always goes, there's nothing to hang on to. Because the subject is always dissolving, there's no one to do the hanging on. In this moment, this is what it is. That's very beautiful.
But, sorry, what about healthy lifestyle to prevent some old age disease? I mean, there's a statistical
Yeah.
probability to get lung cancer from smoking.
That's true.
Yeah, but lung cancer comes from the ground. Can't it hit anybody?
Well, according to the tradition, due to causes and conditions,
Yeah.
no, due to the wider set of causes and conditions, this human body is impermanent and we don't know when we're going to die. Therefore, we have to die, because we all die. Now, how we die is dependent on aspects in ourselves and aspects in other people. You're walking home along the pavement, being a very good citizen, and a drunken driver comes off the road onto the pavement and kills you. These things happen. Your death is caused by someone else. You smoke, and you become an agent causing your own death. Either way, you have to die. If you don't kill yourself, someone else will kill you. Either a person or a mad dog or a disease. You know, you've got to die. But unfortunately, it's not like a restaurant where they bring you the menu. Which one would you prefer? Oh, I'm not quite sure. Could I have a little bit of cancer and a sudden heart attack?
So a healthy lifestyle is not a concept.
No, a healthy lifestyle is a concept. But even people with a healthy lifestyle can die young. And people who smoke 40 cigarettes a day can live to 90. Because statistics is statistics. If we knew how to make ourselves happy, that would have been marketed and sold already. What people do is they market and sell things that say they will make you happy. Coca-Cola is the real thing. So maybe that's a hint of what could be the basis of a healthy lifestyle. If you want reality, have a Coca-Cola. But according to Buddhism, reality is an illusion. And the benefits of Coca-Cola are probably illusory as well. Unless you want to clean your spoons. Your true nature cannot be recognized as something. This, if you take nothing else away, this is the most central point. Whenever you find something, it's not what you're looking for. Okay? The reason we find something is because we go looking for something. Therefore, don't go looking for something. Stay where you are. Sit, just sit. All which is not essential will vanish. That which is the basis will be revealed. It's like that. But what we get are memories, plans for the future, happinesses, shared dancing or eating together, looking at someone's smiling face, feeling close to someone, and so on. These are temporary forms. They're not nothing at all. They're something, but they're an ungraspable something which moves from immediacy into memory. You can't really get them. But we keep looking for something. This is because we are caught in the paradigm, in the kind of worldview or orientation which says, I have a lack. Something is missing in me. Perhaps it's you. Perhaps it's you. Perhaps it's you. If only I was with you, I would be fulfilled. If only I have another slice of cake, I will feel better. The second coffee tastes better than the first. So we want more in order to fill up the lack, the gap, the absence. And it doesn't work. This is why we have consumerist capitalism, because it's very easy to tell people that you need to have a lot of things. And the more things you have, the happier you become. When we look at our lives, we see that that's not true. But it's very easy to believe that. more thoughts, more feelings, see more movies, read more books, have more lovers, drink more wine, whatever it would be, they can't fill the hole because there's nothing wrong with the whole. The lack of that the ego experiences is the first taste of emptiness. There's a hole inside me called shunyata. So if you open to the hole, you find the hole is the whole. In English it works better. It is everything. This is the big mystery in life. That as long as you're seeking something to make you full, you will endlessly be emptied. And when you allow yourself to be empty, then you will be ceaselessly filled up. It's amazing that our emptiness is the basis of the richness of infinite possibility. But when we see it as a specific shape, like spending months building up a huge jigsaw puzzle, and then you find one piece is missing. And you look in the drawer, you look in the box, you look under the edge of the carpet. But this puzzle will never be completed because a piece is missing. This is the human condition. Whatever progress you make in your life, it will never be enough. There will always be something not quite there. Why? Because we live in the dimension of duality where there is subject and object. And the subject and object are born together. We are part of the experiential field. But as an individual, we cut a circle around ourselves, isolating ourselves from the field, and then say we lack something. So then we go looking in the field to try to find the bit that will make us complete. I like you, I want more of you. I don't like you, I want less of you. And we're always, you fall in love with someone, then you start to hate them, or you get bored with them. How has this happened? Because you wanted that one person to be everything, but they can't be. So the duality will not be solved by getting more of the other. This is the basic position. Non-duality is solved by relaxing into the fact of non-duality. So it's not more things that we need. Hi! But to relax and open. And when we open as participants, as part of the field, then we have access to all that we need. And we find more of ourselves manifesting. And this is wonderful. This is the path. So going out hunting and looking and searching and appropriating is not going to lead us anywhere. Because things have value for a while. And then the value vanishes. It might survive till we die, but it's highly likely that once it's gone, once the person's gone. When my mum died, in her house there was a lot of furniture, and then I thought, oh, what would be good? I thought I had this and this and this. And then after a while, actually, I don't need anything. But it's her furniture. How can I let it go away? So the first thing is I had to take my mother out of the furniture. And then I could see the furniture. I thought, actually, I don't really like that. But when it was her furniture, I thought, oh, that's emotional. So then we start to see that the glue is our mind, our projection. And whatever is there, in enriching this particular object, we put a bit of ourselves into the other. That's how we connect with the other. But then we don't get the other as other, which could maybe fill us up. We get the other as self. I fancy you. I want to be with you. Why do I want to be with you? Because I fancy you. That's about me. It's not about you. the fact that I fancy you is you for me. It's not you for you. So this is the transference. This is the hall of mirrors. It's very difficult for us to see the other as they are because we don't see ourselves as we are. Whereas in the meditation, by being in this openness, phenomena arise and pass, and that gives us a sense of space. So, don't go looking for your mind as something. Your mind is the looker. So this is what he said just above. It is the innate clarity and understands itself by itself. The mirror illuminates as the mirror. Its illumination is what the mirror does. You don't find a substance in the mirror. It is the fact of reflections that shows the luminosity of the mirror. It is the fact of experience which shows the luminosity of the mind. The mind is not a thing hidden inside the reflection or inside the thought. It is the thought. Your thoughts, your feelings, your sensation, your experience is the luminous clarity of the mind. Oh, so it's already here. Yes. And it's untouched or unsullied by any of the good or bad aspects of Buddha or sentient beings. It's not affected by any of the faults or good qualities of knowing, virtue, and error. So, again, he's just saying the mind is not obscured because the obscuration is part of the radiance of the mind. Inside duality, we say this is good and this is bad. And we train children to know the difference between good and bad. And this is part of their becoming socially adapted citizens. And this is very important. But because there is one ground, good and bad come from the same source. So if bad thoughts arise, if good thoughts arise, they are manifesting out, but they don't determine the ground. If you do something bad, we say, you are a bad person. Because you did it. Why did you do it? I don't know. It's very, very sad. So many young men who get into violent attacks and they go to court and they say, do you admit that you did it? Yes. Why did you do it? I don't know. I don't know. This is how life is. I don't know. I got angry. Why? He said something. Was that sufficient reason to stab him? No. So why did you do it? I don't know. This is it.
Mama.
We are held to be responsible when we are actually in the midst of a process of unfolding of causes and conditions.
Papa.
Had enough of Papa, now for Mama. Looking for the good object. Who will be enough? Anyone for a moment. So this state is free of all the Dharma names and titles such as Dzogchen and Mahamudra. Although we might say we are practicing Dzogchen, this is just a conventional title. When we are sitting with ourselves in openness, being present, it is so uncatchable, no name could ever stick to it. It is what it is. It is isness. We practice isness. But that's already weird. We just do living, just being here. But being here in the openness of the being here, not that I am living my life, but life is me. Life passes through me, expresses itself in me and as me, and is not mine. So, whenever we put names, we have to understand names belong in the matrix of communication. Names are aspects of compassion. We use language to communicate with other people, But this communication is nothing more than ceaseless massage. If you have a bad massage, at the end of it, your muscles will have tightened up because you feel this person's attacking your body. And if you have a good massage, the muscles will relax. So it's the same. As we use language, we tense up or we relax. It's not a very complicated idea. People can make us feel very uptight by the way they speak, or they can make us feel very at ease. Language is communication. It is not wisdom. Language will not take you to your mind because language is sticking labels onto phenomena, but the relation between the phenomena and the words is never direct. It's a fantasy. Because this is a glass cup, and as we have already seen, you poor German people don't know how to call it a glass cup in your own language. I'm going to have to be a missionary and rewrite German. I'm going to write it as English. If it was a glass cup, people in German would say glass cup. People in French would say glass cup. Glass cup is a linguistic formation which hovers in some relation to what's in my hand. But it doesn't grasp it or hold it or own it, because you can apply many, many other ways of naming it. Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, whatever. And inside your own mother tongue, when you call this whatever you call it, you think, oh, that's what it is. And this is where we become deluded, because we think that the name is the thing itself, but it's not. The name is there as you apply it in the moment, and then it vanishes. And this again for meditators is very important, because when we have these 5 questions, what is the shape of the mind, what color is it, where does it stay, where does it go, we come up with little answers. We say, please sir, it's like this. I know. It's like a balloon. It's like chocolate, whatever it is. And these answers, because they're concepts, are necessarily false. Language cannot get it. It's what he says again and again. Language doesn't get anything. To call this my glasses works inside a group of people who understand the English term my glasses. If I was in China and I said, have you seen my glasses? People will look at me because they don't know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying, but they don't know what I'm saying. Why don't they understand what I'm saying? Because what I'm saying is not true. It's not infinitely true, not universally true. It is a convention whose truth is established on the causes and conditions of having learnt that particular language usage. And so it's like a kind of little post-it note. You write something and you stick it in your diary to remind you. But the post-it, the glue can come off and then you lose your note. How we label the word onto the phenomena doesn't fit. We meet someone and we say, my darling. And then after a while we say, you're a bitch. Now, one person is both my darling and a bitch. How is this? Because you stick different labels on. It's just like that. So when we're doing language, we are palpating, we're massaging, we're manipulating the world with our energy to create particular patterns, but we're not arriving anywhere. We're not establishing truth.
What about the mantras?
The meaning of the word mantra is mind protector. Man is from manas, and tra means protector. So you use it to block thought. And of course to create energetic resonances. Because if I go to a football match in Germany and I say Germans are shit, that will create some kind of energetic field around me. So any kind of linguistic formation will do that. Huh? Good and bad, permanent and traceless, birth and destruction, moving and changing, binding and liberating, gaining and losing, hopes and doubts, accepting and rejecting, inhibiting and practicing, regarding these and all the others, meaning all the other kind of dualistic structural formation. In brief, it pays no regard to any of the attitudes and phenomena encompassed within samsara, nirvana, and their middle path. It means it's uncatchable. There is no way to tell the truth. People go to the Lama, "Oh, Rinpoche, show me my mind." "Oh, the mind is this, the mind is that." This is what we've been doing here. What does it mean? It's only massage. If it helps you relax a bit and open a bit and you see something, then you see it. And what you see is yours. Nobody can give you your mind. Nobody can steal your mind. You yourself can't lose your mind. Your mind is here always. This is it. So there is no way of chopping up the world or improving the world that will put it in the palm of your hand, because it's already through your skin, your bones, your blood. It's through everything you see. So again and again he's making the same point. Whatever is occurring is experience. Experience is the reflection in the mirror. It's not the mirror. Good experiences are not it. Bad experiences are not it. It is not anything. It is not an it. It is you, but the you that was revealed to you when you are not you. As it says, you have to lose yourself to find yourself. It depends on nothing whatsoever. It's not mixed with anything. It's not touched by anything. It's not contaminated by anything whatsoever. It has no preferences. It has no bias. And this is very important, because when we have a bias, we believe there is some truth in it. This football team is better than that football team. This football team is my football team. Oh, if you want to get a mobile phone, this is the best make because it can do this, that, and the other. People have all sorts of ideas or terms or tilts. These are opinions. The opinion is an energetic formation. It's not the thing itself. So he's saying the same thing again and again for a deep purpose. We're always looking for something to grab. You can't grab it. You can't grab it. So when you sit and meditate, or when you're going about in your own life and you're trying to bring Dharma integrated into it, you will find yourself believing in your thoughts. You will find yourself in thought construction. Don't despair. The thought construction is a communication within yourself or out of your mouth to other people. It's playtime. It's just playing. Just play. Nothing is created. Nothing has ever been created. This place is Kamalashila, which is put together with a little bit of paint and a few paintings and so on, and the two lamas wandering around in red robes. If they leave and there's no money to pay the rent on this place, it will just be a building. Someone might like the shape of the building and buy it. Some people think, well, better to knock it down. But now we have a stupa in the garden. Buddhists will complain, you can't knock down a stupa. But what is a stupa? Stupa is something for annoying the neighbors. It's a provocation for the Christians. De facto it is, for some of them for sure. And for other people it's a very important symbol of the Buddha's mind. These are opinions. There is no truth in the world. So in Buddhism we have relative truth and absolute truth. Relative truth is all the nonsense we talk together, and absolute truth is shh. The actual nature of one's own awareness is very sharp, clear, shining, fresh and naked. This is the view of the Buddhas. Its nature is empty, its radiance is clear, and its manifestation is all-pervading. So firstly, one must recognize one's own nature. Then one must remain in one's own place. And finally, one must become unchanging in this state. So these last 3 points means opening to the natural emptiness of your mind by sitting and watching the coming and going of all the familiar building blocks out of which you could construct yourself, but because you're letting them go, they vanish. And so the edifice of the self starts to loosen up. The mind is empty. Seeing this is recognizing yourself. Then you must remain in your own place. This means not thinking that there's something better anywhere else. And then one must become unchanging in this state. And some of you have looked at the 3 statements of Garab Dorji. This is exactly that. Garab Dorji says, in these 3 statements he made when he was leaving this domain, the first is to be introduced to your own nature, or to see your own nature, or to become your own nature, to wake up to who you really are, to wake up as you are. Secondly, not to remain in doubt. That is to say, not to put into question what is manifest. Because when we put things into question, we apply concepts to them. But is this really true? Is it like that? All that is thought proliferation, which is our normal way of establishing the truth. But if you take it towards your Dharma experience, it will obscure it. You think you're getting to the light, but you're going deeper in the dark. In the 3rd point of Garab Dorji is to continue in this way. Means this is it. Not to be longing for something else. So that's what he means, to see this is the unchanging state. Whatever occurs is within the mind as the radiance of the mind. There is nothing outside the mind. There is no duality. The mind is unborn and empty and unceasing in its display. The complexity, the rich variety of experience will not end, but it will be like rainbows without any substance. And so the purity of the mirror and the richness of the reflection will be in non-duality. So that's again the heart essence of Dzogchen. Great meditators, male and female, having gained the certain understanding of how awareness is, this is how you should protect it, without sinking or covering, and without disturbance or distraction, clearly and freshly maintain awareness free of intellectualization. So, there are these 2 main experiences we have in meditation. One is sinking, when we get merged into the thoughts and phenomena that are arising, and in particular when we merge into moods. Moods are very problematic. An emotion like anger or jealousy has a kind of precision and shape to it. But a mood like hopelessness, it's more like the mist in the early morning. It sort of fills you up, but you can't quite catch any shape to it. So he's saying, when that is there, what is likely to arise is the feeling, I don't like this, I don't want this, this is horrible. Right? So one arising is occurring, then another arising is occurring which appears to be a commentary on the first, or a true evaluation or a judgment of the first. Both are manifestations. If Mickey Mouse meets Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse says, listen Donald, you are just a cartoon character. You don't exist. This is what happens in your mind. One thought says to the other thought, fuck off, you're rubbish, or love me forever. Both are cartoon characters. Both are illusion. But when you make a judgment, oh, why did I say that? I'm so stupid. We know what it's like to feel shame and humiliation. it appears that there is something about us that another bit of us has really got, and it's horrible, and it's so real, so intense. It was just a thought. I shouldn't have said that. Maybe true. I shouldn't have said it. It's a horrible feeling in the, oh God, what have I done? What have I done? That is a thought and a feeling and a sensation coming in a wrapped package together. Very intense. It seems to be saying something true, something real, something has been established. I don't know what to do now. It's terrible. Some tear has occurred in your world. It was just a pattern of energy. Now, clearly, if you're driving your car and you're distracted and you kill someone, this is a pattern of energy, but it's also something terrible, and the police will be involved. You may end up in prison. You're in prison for a year, you come out of prison, you try to get a job, they say you've got a criminal record, they're not going to give you a job. Now you're a poor person. What has been established? A different pattern of your life. I've lost everything. Not quite true. You're still alive, you're still walking and talking and wearing clothes. The person you killed is not. You haven't lost everything. That could be arranged. We'll take you to another country. They shoot you or hang you. But in this country, we just lock you up for a while, then set you out as a diminished human being, carrying your cross of shame. I did that. That is who I am. The mark of Cain branded on your forehead. Of course, it's terrible what you did. A pattern was installed which has brought pain and sorrow to another family. Children now don't have their parent because you killed that person, because you got distracted. What has been established? Pattern reformation. There is no substance in it. That doesn't mean it's neutral and it doesn't matter. It is tragic. There are consequences. You will feel sad. You will feel sad and shame, and gradually through time that will change, and you might transform your life and go from being a merchant banker to working for a charity. You might learn, you might be transformed by that. The event, which seems so real and definitive, was a movement in time. There is nothing beyond reparation, because actions have consequences and we can work to change them. The big problem is the definition that you think you've arrived someplace, either in heaven or in hell. Heaven and hell are processes of unfolding. No action is final because energy is always changing. So this is what is very, very important here. We can always improve situations by working with energy, but the key point when something happens is to stay present in awareness. Awareness is the most important thing of all, because it's only awareness that gives perspective to what is going on. When the ego grabs a situation and tries to make sense of it, it will always become confused, because life is too complicated for our small ego to make sense of. So in the meditation, don't sink into an experience, don't take it too seriously, and don't go into distraction and disturbance, what's called Gödpa, which means like wildness, like a wild bird scuttling about in the sky. When the mind is agitated or when it's sinking, that's what's happening. I am agitated. So I'm sitting to do the practice and I have a lot of thoughts and my body's very uncomfortable, so I'm having a lot of sensations in the body. Then we just sit. We sit with that. That is to say, don't turn it into a problem that requires an antidote or a solution from somewhere else. This is what is happening. but it's not very good. It's not what I want. That's the danger. The judgment is the problem, not the fact that your mind is disturbed. In fact, it's quite interesting. God, I am one weird person. All this stuff. And then it goes. If you stay with it, the one who stays with it will be big, and what is arising is small. But if you go into the judgment, you will become as small as the judgment. I can't meditate. This is crap. I'm wasting my time. You've now become very small because all of the rich potential that you have is merged into a small thought, which in its summative, in its conclusion-like orientation, is saying, I can't do this. I'm rubbish at meditation. This doesn't work for me. Full stop. So now I am this particular shape. Whereas if you just stay open, all this turbulence is there for a while, and maybe it's there for a week. Maybe every time you sit, the mind's disturbed, and then it shifts. Oh, now I see sometimes the mind is disturbed, sometimes it's calm, sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's sad. The mind is like the weather. The weather means two things. Either you buy lots of different clothes for different kinds of weather, or you wear the same clothes whatever the weather. If you're a Tibetan nomad, you wear the same clothes winter and summer. The nomads in Iran and so on, in the old days, they had big black woolen tents, and in summer it's incredibly hot, and the women are wearing these long, heavy dresses, because that's what they wear. So we wear emptiness. We wear the sky. Clothes for all season. Freely available. It is not haute couture, and it's not Primark. It's free. So this is a very, very important thing. That one positioning is sufficient. To be naked, to be open, to be fresh, to be uninvolved, is to offer the hospitality to whatever occurs. It's on the level of manifestation that we wear different clothes, different personality styles to relate to other people. But when we're sitting with our own mind, it is the naked awareness which is always the same, which is the important phenomena. So, he's saying, maintain this under all conditions. Great meditators, do not patch this with any other Dharma. Do not mix it with any other Dharmas, for this awareness stands alone. It has no friend, no companion, it is naked. So keep it steadily and peacefully by itself. So this is very important. If you're doing an energy practice like a mantra or a visualization, you have to know that you're doing it to change the coloration of your world. But if you're meditating and your mind is full of agitation, if you do some mantras in order to calm the mind, you're altering the furniture or the clothing or the manifestation. You're not working directly with the mind itself. So that's what he's saying. He's saying, don't mix this Dharma with anything else. Doing a mantra is not doing Dzogchen. You can do a mantra to support you by calming yourself, giving yourself more faith, lucidity, and so on. These are secondary factors. But to do the practice as the practice is to sit relaxed and open, whatever comes. And in this particular lineage, that is the main thing to do. And you have to be very suspicious of yourself when you start to apply antidotes. Because we apply an antidote when we have a disease. For example, some people have a very strong reaction to wasp stings and bee stings, and if they don't get some injection very quickly, they can die. So having that antidote is very important. There was a person happily enjoying a nice summer's day, eating their ice cream. The sugary smell of the ice cream attracts the wasp bites the person, stings the person, and now the person is lying in shock on the pavement and they need to get this injection. It's very important that they get the antidote. The antidote is dealing with the problem. If you were to go up to someone eating an ice cream and say, as a preventative measure, I'm going to stick this needle in you. You may not have the problem today, but in future, you never know. So, when we're doing the practice, my mind is very busy. Second, I don't like it. Conclusion, I have a problem. Number 3. Now, number 4 comes in. What antidote can I have to the problem? Let's backtrack. We only need an antidote if we have a problem. We're saying it's a problem. Why are we saying it's a problem? My mind is agitated. When I sit in meditation, I feel stupid. Why do you feel stupid? What kind of meditation do you think you should have? The instruction is, stay present with whatever arises in the mind. This is the meditation. I can't meditate because I've got the wrong kind of thing arising in my mind. This is madness. This is delusion. This is, the ego is big and awareness is small. The energy, the libido, the life energy, the prana is being sucked into the judgment and the position. I need to do something else. This isn't working for me. That's an idea. That's just an idea. When I worked in Siya Lama's house, I would copy out Tibetan texts in the night to go through the translation with him the next day. And I would often find that I would think, okay, I'll do this till 11 o'clock. Then 11 o'clock would come and think, oh, I'll do another hour. Oh, I'm very tired, I have to sleep. Oh, I'll just do another half hour. I'll just do another half hour. Like that, you can do a lot. You come to a limit and you think, full stop, comma. I'll just do a bit more. You sit, your mind is shit, you sit with the shit. This is getting nowhere. That's a thought. Sit with the shit. I can't meditate. This is nonsense. Full stop. Little tail coming, comma. This is how we practice. When you come to a conclusion, you are taking the thought to be definitive, but all thoughts are impermanent. This is, if you understand this, then you really understand the reason for remaining with these states, whether they're happy or sad. And in the Simply Being book, in some other chapters later by Pater Rinpoche, he's describing, saying this, that some great meditators say with tears in their eyes, my mind is persecuted by jealousy, I can't meditate. Don't worry about meditation. Don't worry about jealousy. Stop trying to do anything. Just stay present with the one who is jealous. Jealousy is presenting itself. This is the object of meditation. Pride is presenting itself. This is the object of meditation. Despair, confusion, lust, whatever is arising, be present with it. Then you start to be aware of the one who is present. At first, the one who is present is a bit obscure because it's mixed in with thoughts. But the more you stay with the natural clarity of the mind, you see, in my mind, thoughts come in two forms. One looks object, one looks subject. Both are energy manifestation. Neither is the true nature. So when from the subject side you come to a conclusion, I can't meditate, this is a manifestation. This is now, in the present moment, this is the object of meditation. We sit with the thought, I can't meditate. then the thought, I can't meditate, dissolves, because all thoughts dissolve. For a moment, some space, then another thought comes in, then more anger and whatever comes in. Well, this is what he means in this practice. So he's a very lovely guy, and we are all very happy to meet him.
James?
Yeah.
If it's a feeling, not a thought, if I feel no,
Yeah.
I think no, or I feel no.
Either.
No different?
Yeah, no different. Feelings seem to last longer than thoughts, and moods last longer than feelings. But if you just sit and you stay with it, it will clear. The problem is very precisely this. Exactly. The awareness never moves. So if you move, you're displacing yourself from awareness. You want to do something different. You say this is not right, so you do something different. You have abandoned the one place where awareness is, always, just here. You think somewhere else is better, something else happening is better. You make that move and you bind yourself into thought construction. Remain again and again exactly where you are. So this is the gist of what he's saying. And in his final lines, he just repeats this again. Whatever happens in health, in sickness, in happiness, in sorrow, just sit relaxed and open with whatever occurs. Undefendedness is the best defense. Again, this is very paradoxical. If you don't defend yourself, you see that the things that frighten you are evanescent, transient, translucent, without inherent self-nature. By allowing them to be there, they pass. If you protect yourself against them, this energy arising towards them is an energy that they can make use of. So in the martial arts, people are learning how to use the energy of the opponent to defeat the opponent. If you bring up your energy, that is a force in the shared field which can be made use of. And that's what your thoughts do. You get irritated with yourself, the thought is going like a vampire. It's drinking the lifeblood of your irritation, and it whacks you again. It whacks you again. So just like in the martial arts, you get angry, you move towards the person, and they throw you down. You get up, now you're fucking furious. Are you going to win? Probably not. Now the other person's calm and clear. They see what you're doing. You're in it, and you don't see what you're doing. So it's just this principle. You get caught in a thought. You're not clear by definition. You relax, be with the thought, but not in it, and clarity is there. Okay, so now we come to the end of our time together. I hope this is useful and that you can apply it for yourself. It's both complicated and very straightforward. And I have found it very useful in my own life. So we end by doing some quiet sitting together and then dedicate the merit of our practice. We dedicate the merit to all sentient beings in the hope of the enlightenment of all beings quickly. Now our time comes to an end. It's very enjoyable for me to be here, to be with people who collaborate and are quite easy going with each other. This is a rare event in the world. This is made very easy because of the good work of Tobias and Katrin that helps everything run smoothly, so thank you very much. Bravo. And the additional organization from Eva and her early morning work. Bravo. And Jaya Chita's movement in the afternoon, which some of you participated.
And you.
And you! Not forgetting the recording people.
Not